Y News with William Theo and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte has completely ended the peace negotiation between the government and the Communist Party of the Philippines. Leftist groups, on the other hand, expressed opposition to the president's decision and warned a launching a massive protest. Here's why from Leslie Longboeng.
President Rodrigo Duterte signs Proclamation Number 360 or the termination of the peace negotiations of the government with the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, National Democratic Front or CPP-NPA-NDF. In a statement released by presidential spokesperson RROW last night, the president has directed the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process or OPAP, as well as the Government Peace Panel to cancel all scheduled meetings with the CPP-NPA-NDF. Roque adds, the group has not shown sincerity to the peace talks as its members continuously perpetrate attacks on the government troops. The presidential spokesperson reiterates that President Rodrigo Duterte wants to leave a legacy of peace under his administration. In response, leftist groups conducted demonstrations to protest the proclamation of the chief executive. About 100 protesters gathered in Mendiola earlier. According to former Bayan Muna Party List Representative Teddy Casino, the ending of the peace negotiations is not the solution to the conflict between the CPP and the government, but will only worsen it.
Dahil nga maraming namamatay na sundalo, maraming namamatay na NPA, dapat nga talagang mag-usap, no, para matapos na yung labanan. Ngayong walang pag-uusap, mas lalong maraming mamamatay na NPA na sundalo. At nangangamba kami na pati mga sibilyan ay apektado.
Ang pananakot ni Duterte ay ang takot niya sa mga kritisismo, sa mga programang anti-manggagawa, anti-magsasaka, at anti-mamayan sa kabuuan.
Casino also denied having links with the NPA. Meanwhile, CPP founding chairman Joma Season notes that following the decision of the president, the CPP-NPA will further intensify its fight against the government. Season said they have no other choice but to secretly strengthen their forces and to encourage other activists whose lives are in danger to fight with the NPA. He also called Mr. Duterte as the #1 terrorist due to his capability to commit abductions, torture, and mass murder of the poor suspected of being involved in the operation of illegal drugs. The militants are readying a massive protest on the 30th of November in various parts of the country to oppose the decision of the president. Leslie Longboan, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines defends the decision of President Rodrigo Duterte to completely terminate the peace negotiations with a communist group. Here's why from Lea Ilagay.
The New People's Army on NPA continues its harassment and extortion activities despite the prevailing unilateral ceasefire declared by President Rodrigo Duterte in August last year. In fact, according to AFP spokesperson Major General Restituto Padilla, from 31 incidents of harassment perpetrated by the NPA in Western and Eastern Mindanao in 2016, the number rose to 57 in 2017. Padilla reiterates that the 81% worth of properties damaged by the NPA in 2016 increased this year to 2,000%.
Kaya kami ay sumusuporta sa ating mahal na Pangulo sa kanyang deklarasyon na wakasan na po ang usapang pangkapayapaan.
The general added 64 died on the government side due to the attacks by the rebel group. With this, the military is anticipating a massive harassment activities by the rebels as President Duterte has ended talking peace with the NPA. According to Padilla, this prompt intensified focused military operations against the rebel group, while martial law continuously prevail in Mindanao. The NPA recently has 3,800 members, and for every 4 members, 1 is a lumad.
Ang ating pong mandato sa ating konstitusyon ay maliwanag. So patuloy lang po natin gagampanan ito. We will continue to do our mandate and perform and help ensure the security and safety of all our communities.
The consultants and members of the NPA who have been given safe conduct pass are also being warned that they can already be arrested.
Ngayon na formal na po na ipinahayag ng ating pamahalaan ang pagtatapos ng formal na usapan, and that will pave the way for their rearrest because they were only released for the period of the formal talks.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines reminds the public to be vigilant and immediately report to the authorities any presence of rebels in their areas. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue Camp Aguinaldo.
The National Bureau of Investigation is looking into an alleged 8.7 billion peso road right-of-way scam under the previous administration. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre says former DPWH Secretary Rogelio Babe Singson and former Budget Secretary Florencio Butch Abad may face criminal charges over it. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
A syndicate is allegedly behind the supposed road right-of-way scam in General Santos City during the Aquino administration. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre disclosed that a witness who is personally involved in the syndicate revealed the modus operandi. He said the group supposedly used fake land titles to claim just compensation from the Department of Public Works and Highways for the lands affected by the construction of the National Highway. The syndicate allegedly started operating in 2009 until the end of the Aquino administration. Aguirre says it has processed over 300 claims amounting to 8.7 billion pesos.
We have information that one claim for just compensation amounted to 29 million pesos. Isang transaction lang yan.
Aguirre also said the witness has a bulk of original documents of the transactions and was already admitted to the Witness Protection Program. He was informed the syndicate is working with several officials of the DPWH, Bureau of Internal Revenue, City Assessor's Office of General Santos, Registry of Deeds, Commission on Audit, and even the Regional Trial Court. Based on the documents and the sworn statement of the witness, former DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson and former Budget Secretary Butch Abad may also be liable. Aguirre says the witness claims that it only took days to process the request of the syndicate and the release of funds.
Some high-ranking officials of the previous administration may have potential liabilities like DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson, who apparently approved and requested the release of payment of fake road right-of-way claims. Former Budget Secretary Florencio Abad, who apparently approved the release of payment for illegal road right-of-way claims as requested by DPWH former Secretary Rogelio Singson, may also face potential criminal liability.
The Secretary says this could not happen without the collusion of government officials, and it's not remote that said officials have had share in the money defrauded from the government.
Kasi you could not do this, you could not collect such a huge sum of money without everybody in conspiracy. Kaya talagang the collusion among these perpetrators very clear. Yun ang implication Talagang kumita kumitang lahat.
Abad denied the allegation, saying they never take part in the negotiations for the transactions. Singson says he wants to see the documents first before he could comment on it. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV, News and Rescue, Department of Justice.
The Department of Justice has ordered an investigation on former President Benigno Aquino III over the alleged misuse of funds under the Disbursement Acceleration Program or DAP. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre has directed the National Bureau of Investigation to create a special task force to probe the malversation complaint filed by the group of former Manila City Councilor Greco Belhica. Aside from Aquino, former Budget Secretary Florencio Butch Abad and former Budget Undersecretary Mario Relampagos were also named as respondents in the complaint. Secretary Aguirre has also instructed the NBI to conduct a fact-finding on anomalies in the Priority Development Assistance Fund or PDAF of legislators. The Justice Department plans to reopen the DAP and PDAF cases after finding new evidence.
Itong mga complainants, na Greco, preferred to file muna dito kasi they are asking the NBI's help na magsubpina ng ilang documents na kinakailangan para to strengthen the case.
The camp of Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno wants the impeachment complaint be brought to the Senate following the hearing on in the lower house. Grace Casin will tell us why.
The camp of Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno has decided to no longer participate in the impeachment proceedings in the lower house of Congress. This after the House Committee on Justice prohibited them to represent the Chief Magistrate during the hearing on the complaint. In a statement, Sereno's spokesperson Attorney Josa de Inla says they prefer the process to reach the Senate, noting that based on the hearing conducted last Wednesday, the committee already decided on the complaint in advance. De Inla says they're hoping that in the Senate, the Chief Justice will face a fair trial and so that Sereno could defend herself. House Committee on Justice Chairman Reynaldo Umali meanwhile expressed dismay over the statement of the camp of Sereno. Umali says as a lawyer, they should respect the mandate of the Congress in conducting impeachment hearings.
Ngayon, kung sinasabi po nilang na-prejudge na sila, it is so unfortunate that they will think that way. They should also look at their oaths of offices na sila ay sinasabing dapat sundin nila ang kanilang sinumpaang tungkulin na sila ay susunod sa konstitusyon. And this is a constitutional duty that we are performing at hinihingi na kanilang respetuhin po ito.
Umali added that it is wrong that the lawyers of Sereno released such a statement while the hearing is ongoing.
Hindi po maganda ang mga pinaparating nila at sana po ay kilatisin nilang maigi at medyo pag-isipan nila bago sila magsalita.
The lawmaker confirms that they're also looking into the option of issuing a subpoena to CJ Sereno to oblige her to answer personally all the allegations against her.
Kahapon po nag-meeting kami at merong mga ganyang mga usapin na lumabas doon sa usapan. Pero siyempre ay pag-aaralan nating maigi yan kung ano ang nararapat.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Presidential Communications Operations Office Assistant Secretary for Social Media Mocha reiterated that she will not run in the upcoming senatorial elections. However, the controversial government official says the matter still depends on the decision of President Rodrigo Duterte. Here's why from Mon Hokson.
Presidential Communications Operations Office Assistant Secretary or ASEC Mocha has reiterated anew her disinterest in running for the midterm senatorial elections. On the program, Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, the controversial government official says she is currently satisfied with her current position in the government. ASEC Mocha narrated that she was having a selfie with several Cebuanos when she heard House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez endorsing her as one of the senatorial candidates of the administration's party for 2019 polls.
Ay di lumapit po ako. Tapos nagsalita na siya in Cebuano. Hindi ko naman po maintindihan. Ito si Mocha. Hello po, hello. Gumagano naman po ako. Hello po, hi po. Ganyan. Tapos po, pagkatapos noon, pumunta na ako sa likod. Sinabi ng mga kasama ko na, congratulations. Bakit po? Inendorso ka, ganyan. Parang, ganun po ba? Hindi ko naman po naintindihan.
However, ASEC Mocha says she is not closing the door to serve in one of the branches of the government. The former sexy starlet notes her decision will still depend on the chief executive.
Ako talaga walang-wala. Pero kung si Presidente magsasabi, open po ako doon.
Mocha explains she did not plan whatever is happening to her now in the government. She said she only accepted the offer in Malacanang because she wants to help the administration of President Rodrigo Duterte. When asked about her platform, should she decide to run in the dirty world of politics and win as a senator, Mocha says she will push for the reimposition of the death penalty and amendments of the Juvenile Justice Welfare Act. She explains anyone involved in a crime should be held liable, whether they be minors or someone in the legal age.
Masakit po sa akin yun dahil, syempre, tatay ko yun. At bakit may ganoon na mga tao na hindi inisip na may pamilya din yun at ang trato ay parang hayop. So, yun po yung nararamdaman ko rin na biktima po ng kriminalidad na bakit nagiging lenient po dito sa ganitong mga kriminal.
Although Mocha has not yet decided on whether or not to run for politics, she says she had already been thrown with mud in her previous life, which according to her, she has long been forgotten and regretted.
Doon ko po naranasan yung pagmamahal ng Diyos. Kasi, saan siya no? Marami talaga yung mga nagawa ko noon. Pero, yung dahil sa pagmamahal ng Diyos, sabi nga kahit anong kasalanan mo, He never gives up. He never gives up on you. Kasi po, may nakausap ako sa PGH, alam nyo, isang pasyente, nag-suicide. She attempted suicide. Kasi nangalo niya yung kanyang asawa. So sabi ko sa kanya, huwag kang susuko. Dahil ang Panginoon nga hindi sumusuko sa atin eh. So yun lang po, yung pinagdaanan ko noon, kahit na naghubad, nagpa-sexy, na wala ng landas. Pero yung Panginoon po, He never gets tired of loving us.
Meanwhile, Mocha defends the bloggers who support the president and denies are being paid. She also confirmed that she wants to take a Philippine Law School admission test or PhilSat, noting she really wants to study the law. Mon Hocson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
President Rodrigo Duterte nominates Commissioner Sheriff Abbas as the chairman of the Commission on Elections or Comelec. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
President Rodrigo Duterte has nominated Commissioner Sheriff Abbas to replace resigned poll chief Andres Bautista, who was supposed to retire in February 2022. However, Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez clarifies that Commissioner Abbas has not yet been formally appointed as he has yet to get confirmation from the Commission on Appointments.
Kahit siya, ini-insist niya na hindi, kailangan dumaan muna ako sa CA. He wants to give the CA the leeway.
Commissioner Christian Robert Lim will continue to serve as acting chairman until the CA confirmed or not the appointment of Abbas.
Well, right now, may acting chairman pa rin tayo. Ang acting chairman natin si Commissioner Christian Robert Lim pa rin. Once he gets confirmed by the CA, then he enters into the position of chairman, yes.
Jimenez clarified that there is no irregularity in the appointment of Abbas. He says there is a jurisprudence that a commissioner can be appointed as a chairman of an agency until his or her term has not yet ended.
So kunwari, appointed ka for a 7-year term, hindi ka pwedeng ma-appoint sa panibagong termino na magdadagdag dun sa 7-year term na yon. In this case, yung termino ni Commissioner Abbas is the exact same duration as the term of Chairman Bautista.
Most of Comelec commissioners are out of the country for a seminar. That's why none of them could give a reaction on the matter yet. Jimenez notes Commissioner Abbas refuses to release a comment yet on the matter. Meanwhile, aside from Abbas, Agnes De Vanadera has been appointed as chairperson of the Energy Regulatory Commission. De Vanadera is the former Justice Secretary and Solicitor General under the administration of former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
President Rodrigo Duterte has appointed a new chairperson for the Energy Regulatory Commission in the person of Agnes De Vanadera. She is a former Justice Secretary and Solicitor General under the administration of former President and now Pampanga Representative Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. The Senate has retained in its version of tax reform for acceleration and inclusion or TRAIN bill the provisions of value-added tax exemptions for senior citizens, persons with disability, and on socialized housing. Here's why from Nel Maribuho.
The Senate has retained some value-added tax exemptions in its version of the tax reform bill. This means socialized housing worth 2 million pesos and below that are located outside Metro Manila will be VAT exempted. Senate Committee on Ways and Means Chairperson Senator Sani Angara believes this will help resolve the government's housing backlogs. According to the Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, the government will have an outstanding backlog of more than 6 million housing units from this year to 2022. Also, the Senate retained the 12% VAT exemptions for senior citizens, persons with disabilities, cooperatives, on raw food and agricultural products, and in health and education services. But the Senate has no final decision yet on how many sectors will it declare VAT exempted out of 143 sectors. According to the Tax Management Association of the Philippines, reducing the coverage of VAT exemptions will help attain the government's revenue target.
Yes, yung pag-list ng some of the exemptions would help in the collection kasi madadagdagan nga yung revenue generated ng government.
Despite this, TMP President Malu Lourdes Lim said some provisions of the said tax reform proposal should be carefully scrutinized by lawmakers on apparent inequality, like the tax imposed on self-employed and professionals.
Baka hindi napapansin ng mga tao, yung sa 8% kasi ng self-employed at saka professionals, wala siyang cap. Meaning, kahit na maliit ka, kahit na malaki ang kinikita mo, 8% lang ang ibibigay sa'yo.
The deliberation of the train bill will continue on Monday when it is expected to be passed immediately. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade emphasized that their plans will push through and the operation of MRT will continue. This is despite the resignation of Cesar Chavez, the former Undersecretary for Rails of the Department of Transportation. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Life must go on.
This has been the words of Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade following the resignation of Undersecretary for Rails Cesar Chavez. According to Tugade, he even tried to prevent Chavez from resigning but to no avail.
Because I was really caught by surprise. Ka-text ko siya, and I tried to reach out to him. Sinabi niya, he just like to think.
Tugade also denies having conflict with the officials of the Metro Rail Transit or MRT and DOTR. The transportation chief belies as well rumors that he was the one who ordered Chavez to resign.
For the record, he has my full trust and confidence. At inaasam-asam ko pa rin na tatapusin namin ang aming mga proyekto together. Ako, gusto ko pa rin, partner kami. Bakit partner kami? May kumpiyansa ako sa kanya. At the end of the day, it is the individual persona that make a judgment. And whatever judgment he makes, that should be respected.
Secretary Tugade also emphasized he will continue the reforms currently being implemented in the MRT-3. The Transportation Department, Tugade claims, is prioritizing now the signaling system of MRT and the repair of train coaches and replacement of rails. The DOTR is also fast-tracking the search for a new trustworthy maintenance service provider of the MRT, noting the government could not supervise the daily operation of MRT. It says the government will sign a currently being drafted Memorandum of Understanding with a private company before the year ends. The DOTR noted after the signing, the resolution on the problems on the MRT will become faster. Meanwhile, during Tugade's attendance in the 125th anniversary of the Philippine National Railways, the DOTR chief vows to hasten the construction of the railway projects in the country.
Lahat po yan, priority. Merong priority para sa mga tao. Merong priority para sa mga riles. Merong priority sa mga mananakay. Lahat po yan, samot-sari, sabay-sabay na gagawin.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Next on Y News. Authorities nab a British national and a Filipino over violations of the firearms law.
The Department of Agriculture targets to import 300,000 cattle heads in 5 years as the government plans to increase dairy production.
Y News will be right back. The Bureau of Customs in Cebu confiscated various smuggled items worth 160 million pesos in conservative value. Grace Casin will tell us why.
About 160 containers containing high-value items from China, US, and Japan have been confiscated by the Bureau of Customs in Cebu in the past 2 months. Customs Commissioner Isidro La Peña presented earlier the contents of the containers. This contained a number of high-end sports utility vehicles, agriculture products, and tiles.
Because nakakalusot sila before. But this time, in my time and in the time of President Duterte, we will catch up with them. So I advise them not to engage in this kind of illegitimate business endeavor. Malulugi lang sila.
It was discovered that the SUV and tiles were undervalued, while the agri-products were misdeclared. The document states that the vehicles are worth only 1.5 million pesos each, but it was discovered to be worth 4 million pesos each. According to La Peña, smuggling activities still prevail in the country. The customs chief warned those involved to stop their illegal activities.
This is our effort to stop yung mga ganitong gawain na mga smugglers who are shortchanging the government of the revenue that is due government. And this will be a strong message to them to go legitimate sa kanilang mga businesses. Kasi makalusot sila minsan, 2 beses, 3 beses, but not all the time. We will be hitting them as we go along.
BOC continues to investigate individuals allegedly involved in smuggling and vows to file cases against those proven involved in the illegal act. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre, together with the DOJ panel, defended the resolution that cleared former Customs Commissioner Nicanor Faildon and other officials of the Bureau of Customs over the 6.4 billion peso shabu smuggling case. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
Mag-aral muna kayo. Hindi nyo nalalaman ang proseso dito.
This is what Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre has to say to the senators who criticized the resolution of the Department of Justice clearing Customs Commissioner Nicanor Faildon and other officials of the Bureau of Customs in the 6.4 billion peso shabu smuggling case. Aguirre says he is ready, along with the DOJ panel, to face the Senate and justify the dismissal of the charges against Faildon and other customs officials. The Secretary adds he doesn't meddle with the findings of the DOJ panel.
Ilang beses ko ba sabihin na hindi ako nakikialam sa NPS? Up to this time, hindi ko pa nababasa yung resolution na yan eh. Kasi, I don't want to be prejudged. I don't want to preempt. Because pwedeng mapila sa akin yan at mayroong automatic review yan eh. Kasi drug case yan eh.
The DOJ panel says PDEA's allegations against Faildon and other customs officials were not clear. The PDEA did not specify the supposed participation or omission of each of the customs officials. The panel says the PDEA simply made general allegations against the officials over the smuggling of the shabu shipment. They said the evidence presented were insufficient to indict Faildon and others.
Much of the evidence and the testimony submitted during the Senate was not given or submitted before our panel. So we can only judge based on the evidence submitted before us.
We have given the PDEA an opportunity to submit additional evidence in their reply. But what they submitted is a 3-page reply discussing only principle on probable cause.
The panel, however, said PDEA can still appeal the resolution and submit additional evidence to boost their case. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group Anti-Transnational Crime Unit arrested a British national and a Filipino. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
Through a search warrant issued by Pasig City Regional Trial Court Branch 152, Judge Danilo Cruz, the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group Anti-Transnational Crime Unit or CIDG-ATCU raided a residential unit in Valle Verde 5 in Pasig City. According to CIDG-ATCU Chief Police Superintendent Roque Merdihia Jr., Operatives arrested suspects British national Matthew George Marnie and Filipino Romel Manias Catilo, who are both residents of Valle Verde 5. Authorities nabbed the suspects after discovering that they were possessing unlicensed firearms.
Mayroon kaming information na natanggap na di umano ay mayroon yung presence ng armed persons doon sa Valle Verde 5 way back in September. So because of that information, we conducted surveillance operation. Then we validated the report. We applied for search warrant.
CIDG ATCU operatives confiscated from the two 5-caliber 45 pistol, 5 magazines, 25 pieces of live ammunition, and 4 boxes of blank ammunition of caliber 45 pistol. They also seized a stun gun and 4 gun holder boxes, a gun cleaning kit, 14 pieces of bladed weapons, 3 firearms holsters and magazine pouch, and an improvised slingshot.
Makikipag-unayan kami sa British Embassy tungkol sa background nitong suspect, kung ito ay may mga involvement sa mga illegal transactions abroad.
Mardigia says the suspects are already facing complaints before the Department of Justice or DOJ for violating the Republic Act 10591 or Comprehensive Firearms and Ammunition Regulation Act. Meanwhile, CIDG National Capital Region arrested 4 illegal recruiters in Calao, Ermita, Manila, including a Japanese national who recruited Filipinos to work as domestic helpers in Japan. The Japanese national was also caught in the act of receiving money from the victim.
In compliance with the instruction of our president, the CIDG, of course, will really conduct intensified operation against illegal recruitment.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue Camp Crame.
The Integrated Bar of the Philippines and the Commission on Human Rights are against a proposal to reinstate the Philippine National Police in the government's fight against illegal drugs. Here's why from Mocha.
Some lawyers and human rights advocates argue the Philippine National Police or PNP should not be reinstated in the drug war campaign. They explain this is since petitions are still pending in the Supreme Court against the PNP's double-barrel campaign. According to Integrated Bar of the Philippines President Attorney Adiel Fajardo, reinstating PNP in the drug war will violate the law.
Kung sinabi ng Supreme Court na yan ay invalid, unconstitutional, and therefore illegal, ibig sabihin yan talagang mawawala ng basis ang PNP to take the lead.
Fajardo insists that according to the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA is the designated lead authority in anti-drug war operations and not the PNP. The Commission on Human Rights or CHR believes that the President knows what are stated under the law in connection with operations against illegal drugs.
The Commission on Human Rights will monitor all actions taken and whether his actions are lawful or unlawful will in the course of appropriate proceedings be determined.
Gascon also calls on the President to not stop the international community in helping address human rights violations in the country. Some human rights advocates are worried that the PNP will be reinstated soon in the drug war.
Bumalik ang takot namin. Bilang mga human rights defenders at bilang tumutulong sa mga naging biktima at magiging biktima pa ng karahasang pantao, lalo na ng extrajudicial killings.
Meanwhile, the IBP and CHR signed an agreement today that aims to provide free service to the victims of EJKs. According to IBP President Attorney Fajardo, the CHR lacks manpower in addressing the concerns of human rights violation victims. Fajardo assures that their services are free. The agreement includes the IBP's assistance of field forensic and medicine. This is even so the PNP refuses to show case folders. The filing of cases against suspects will advance. Mon Hoxon, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Meanwhile, the World March of Women Philippines considers extrajudicial killings as acts of violence against women. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Several groups of women denounced extrajudicial killings they relate to the government's war on drugs. The World March of Women Philippines says EJK can be considered as acts of violence against women.
Tinuturing namin na karahasan sa kababaihan itong pagpatay sa mga pinaghihinalaan na sangkot sa giyera sa droga dahil ang mga kababaihang naiwan ay iniwan nilang economically desperate. It's also economic violence to the women and also the harm, the trauma, the grief that the extrajudicial killings cause to the women can be classified as harms akin to violence against women.
Maylene, a victim of prostitution and now a member of Bagong Kamalayan Survivors Group, says some of the wives of those killed in the drug war turned to prostitution for a living.
Yung ibang nanay, mas napipilitan na rin sila na yung sarili nila mismo parang ipapalit na lang nila sa 1 kilong bigas. Kapalit yung para lang makakain yung mga anak nila dahil wala na silang hanap buhay. Hindi sila makapaghanap buhay dahil yung iba maraming anak. So paano nila maiwan? And then yung sakit sa kalooban na pag nakakita sila ng pulis, natatakot sila.
Meanwhile, apart from justice for EJK victims, the group also demands compensation from the government for their families. The call was alongside the commemoration of the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
An estimated amount of 90 billion pesos is needed to rebuild Marawi City, according to Mayor Majul Gandmara. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Marawi City Mayor Mahil Usman Gandamra says rebuilding the war-torn city will need the local government at least 90 billion pesos. This fund will be utilized not only to reconstruct damaged infrastructures but also to restore the damaged livelihood of Marawi residents. It will also be used to restore the economic operations in the war-torn city.
Kung aayusin po natin ang Marawi City, ay hindi lang ho ibabalik natin sa dati. But of course, we will make it better than it was before. Yun po ang ating gustong. And of course, no amount of money that can compensate doon ho sa nangyari sa Marawi City.
According to information received by Mayor Gandamra, the rehabilitation efforts in the city will officially begin next year, and the government will use an initial amount of 30 billion pesos. Meanwhile, Gandamra says that based on his consultation with his constituents, they prefer to rebuild the damaged infrastructures than to transfer the business center.
On my personal view, at based doon sa aking consultation with my constituents, ay mas maganda po na we will just rebuild and reconstruct the war-torn area and then we will expand, especially government centers.
The discussions on whether to preserve some of the ruins in Marawi City are still ongoing. Based on the latest report of the government, 70,000 residents have already returned to their homes in Marawi City. 24 barangays are among the hard-hit areas where around 10,000 families have totally lost their homes and means of livelihood. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The Department of Agriculture is planning to buy around 300,000 cattle in the next 5 years. The Department of Agriculture is scouting for a country from where to import the said number of cattle. Here's why from Ray Palayo.
The Philippine government wants to intensify its cattle herding program. Thus, the Department of Agriculture targets to buy around 300,000 cattle heads in a period of 5 years from next year. Secretary Manny Piñol explains local farmers only produce 1.8% of its dairy products requirement.
So, ibig sabihin, 98.2% ng gatas at saka dairy products ini-import natin.
The importation aims to launch a milk feeding program.
Yung produkto ng halimbawa mga kambing na ginagatasan o yung mga bakang ginagatasan, doon mismo ipapainom sa mga bata within that community para ma-address natin yung malnutrition.
DA allocated 1 billion pesos for next year for the said cattle program. Initially, it is planning to buy around 6,000 to 8,000 cattle heads. Brazil and Argentina are among the countries where DA plans to pursue the importation as the population of cattle in the mentioned countries is higher than their citizens. Brazilian ambassador to the Philippines, Rodrigo Amarao, says they are now preparing the procedures in case that the Philippines will import cattle from their country.
We think that this might be a very good thing
because it will allow the Philippines to be an important dairy producer, and this could be only the starting point of a much wider process.
Ambassador Amarao is also hoping that the Philippines will lift the ban it imposed on meat importation from Brazil. Brazil is among the countries where the Philippines import supply of chicken, pork, and beef.
We are very confident that the ban might be lifted very soon.
Secretary Piñol says the recommendations of DA's inspection team is favorable for Brazil.
Ako naman, ministerial lang ang akin. Pag-recommenda nila i-lift, pipirman ko lang yung lifting.
Ray Pilayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Marawi City.
In other news, an oil and gas development company believes that the discovery of oil and gas deposits in Maguindanao will help reduce the price of petroleum products in the country. Here's why from Abby Santa Ines.
Oil-producing countries in the Middle East dominate all exportation industry in the world, which benefit other nations, including the Philippines. According to the Department of Energy, about 80% of the Philippines' oil import comes from the Middle East, 30% of which comes specifically from Saudi Arabia. Since the Philippines' oil reserve depends on importation, local prices of petroleum products are affected by the price adjustments in the world market. That is why Ligmarsh Gas and Oil Development Corporation believes it will be a big relief if the Philippines will have its own source of oil and natural gas.
Especially that nowadays there is a crisis on oil. Mayroong konting gulo sa Middle East, mayroong reduction ng quota sa Pilipinas, wherein we need to look for more sources of oil which is used for our energy.
The Philippine National Oil Company discovered the 288,000 hectare Liguasan Marsh in Mindanao, which is proven rich in oil and gas deposits. According to PNOC, deposits in Sultan sa Barongis alone can supply a 60-megawatt power plant for a period of 20 years. Once developed, the project will provide more investments and create more jobs that will help alleviate poverty in the country.
Then there will be less poverty, which is the cost and the root cause of rebellion in the area.
However, investors should be given protection if they wish to enter the area. For this part, Department of Trade and Industry Assistant Secretary Amina Absede Fahadu says the government must still have authority over the exploration.
Dahil tayo na yung source, magiging mura na ang presyo ng ating gas and oil. Unlike ngayon, dumadaan pa tayo sa mga brokers, hindi tayo nakaka-direct ng importation. Kaya ang tendency nun, nagmamahal ang presyo.
Abby Santa-Ines, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Coming up on Y News. A team of various bombers complete a routine over South China Sea in what the Chinese government claims as patrol missions.
And a massive virtual reality theme park soon to open in Guiyang, Guizhou Province in China.
More from Y News after this break.
The second elimination for the third round of the online singing competition Wish Covery will be held tomorrow. Performance of Laguna's Bet gets the lead in Power Views. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Laguna's Bet has the most number of YouTube views for the second batch of Wishfuls in the third round of the online singing competition Wish Covery. Daniel Joshua Supnet got 66,653 views.
Labis kitang mahal, sumpa man, iniibig kita, bakit?
Second in rank is Batangas Best Carmela Ariola with 64,422 views.
Pangarap ka na lang ba o magiging katotohanan pa? Bakit may mahal ka ng iba?
While Alfred's Blanche of Cavite got 17,052 views.
Kung mayroong hanang aking paglalaban, kung mula sa puso ay tunay ngang ganyan.
The power views will comprise 15% of their total scores. Tomorrow, it's the turn of Discovery's resident reactors to comment on their performances. Reactors' comments weigh 85% in the scores. The Wishcovery episode will be uploaded on the first YouTube channel of Wish 1075 tomorrow at 9 in the evening. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Those are the reasons behind the news November 24, 2017. I'm William Theo.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching.
Why News.